All right, folks, thanks for checking out the video. I want to talk today about New York City Mayor Eric Adams announcing cuts to police, fire, and sanitation due to the so called migrant crisis. Okay, so from the New York Post here, says the NYPD may still have to make more cuts to the department next year, even with the next 5 police academy classes already being axed as part of this year's migrant cost cutting, the mayor revealed Tuesday. We don't want to do anything that's going to endanger public safety. That's the foundation that the city is built on, Mayor Eric Adams said, but conceded everything is on the table. And presumably that means public safety. The NYPD, along with FDNY and DSNY, appeared to be spared from the next round of cuts after a memo went out to city agencies from City Budget Director Jacques Jiha that called on the city to slash migrant costs by 20% in January. NYPD, FDNY, and DSNY are exempted from the January PEG, which is programmed to eliminate the gap, out of concern that additional budget cuts at this time could impact public safety, health, and cleanliness, he wrote in the memo obtained by the Post. But the mayor reopened the door to more budget tightening later next year as part of an upcoming third round of 5% cost cutting to account for the ballooning migrant crisis. And you see Mayor Eric Adams here. If need be, they will have to be included in the next round also if we can't get to the numbers that we want because we have to balance the budget, the mayor said during his weekly off-topic press conference. The NYPD saw some of the most significant cuts as part of this month's budget changes, the first of 3 5% cuts by next fiscal year, with the cancellation of the next 5 police academy classes. As a result, the department's uniform staffing figures are expected to dip to 29,000 for the first time since the early 1990s. The department has already been decimated by retirements and resignations over the last few years, with the headcount dipping by nearly 3,000. The reduction is part of the newly unveiled 2024 fiscal plan, which will also force FDNY members on long-term light duties, which are firefighters injured on the job or out sick, out of the department. The Department of Education is also expected to slash $547 million from this year's budget alone under the plan. In addition, the sanitation department will do less trash pickup near parks and pedestrian walkways and remove a number of litter bins throughout the city. City has been trying to make up for the $12 billion price tag that has come with caring for the more than 140,000 asylum seekers who have come through New York City since the start of the crisis in the spring of 2022. Now, something I want to call out here is these people are not asylum seekers, at least in the traditional sense. These are economic migrants, okay? And the characterization of this as a so-called crisis, okay? Now, I think of a crisis as something unexpected, something that you almost couldn't have prepared for when we know that the current administration has basically opened the gates for all these people to come in. In some cases, they've been helped to come in. Okay, so this isn't a crisis. This is just an engineered situation. Okay, that they're trying to manage. They're not looking to send these people back. They're not looking to do anything to stem the tide of people coming into the country. And Mayor Eric Adams is over here complaining, but it's his political party, which he's a member in good standing of, that has allowed this to happen. And Mayor Eric Adams has said New York City is a proud sanctuary city. Well, I guess being a sanctuary has a cost, right? So if you're just a regular working man, working woman in New York City, well, you know what? You're going to have to suffer. All of these so-called migrants, they're going to be taken care of. They're not being asked to sacrifice. They're going to get all their needs taken care of. Okay? Now, it was just 2 years ago that Mayor Eric Adams, you can see here, was elected mayor of New York City by close to 40 points. He received 67% of the vote, and Republican Curtis Sliwa receives 27.8% of the vote. Every borough, with the exception of Staten Island, voted for Eric Adams. And if we look at the precinct map here, you see Staten Island down here, and it's almost all red, with the exception of some parts of the northern part of the island. Now, outside of that, New York City is mostly blue. There are some red areas, particularly in Brooklyn and here in Queens. So obviously, not everybody voted for this, but presumably a lot of the people upset did vote for the guy. Okay, maybe they just habitually vote Democrat. They didn't think of it, but elections have consequences, and I don't believe that this would be happening if you had a Mayor Curtis Sliwa in New York City. Okay, so perhaps in a couple of years, when New York City elects a new mayor, or this guy runs for re-election, I don't know if he will. Hopefully, enough people will wake up to get somebody in there that's actually going to put New York City ahead of all these so-called migrants. Because Mayor Eric Adams, he's saying no, all of you that pay the taxes, and a lot of you that voted for me, you're going to suffer. Okay. And it goes on to say here, many New Yorkers, though, have decried the decrease in officers and hiring freezes across the board. Cops are already stretched to our breaking point, and these cuts will return us to staffing levels we haven't seen since the crime epidemic of the 80s and 90s. We cannot go back there, Police Benevolent Association President Patrick Hendry said when the cuts were announced. Well, Patrick, unfortunately, I think things are going to get a lot worse in New York City before they get better. Hundreds of thousands of people have left New York in the last couple of years. Not just in New York City, but a lot of them from New York City, and they've headed to places like Florida, places like North Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, much better run parts of the country. Okay, and that's even further worsening the so-called budget crisis in New York City, because they're driving out productive citizens and replacing them with people who are a drain on the economy. So the blame needs to fall squarely on Mayor Eric Adams, because he could do a lot more to prevent this situation, and he just refuses to do it. And he's not going to call out Joe Biden. Okay, he's not going to do that. He hasn't done that. So, like I said, things are going to get a lot worse before they ever get better in New York City, and I just think that there's too many people there that have ingrained voting patterns to allow somebody that's going to be able to do what's necessary to turn that place around. Okay, I would love to be proven wrong on that, and that would be a beautiful thing for not just New York City but the country. But I don't foresee that happening. So, anyways, that's what I think. Let me know what you all think. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.